So interestingly, I was teaching about Cascadian farms in my Geography of Agriculture class one fall in 2008, and we were talking about this Taste You Can Believe In slogan, and what comes up the next day? Change you can believe in. Yes, we can. You know, we all brought our own hopes and dreams about what change could be to that slogan. But the slogan really reflected what we believed, what each one of us believed. It didn't reflect what Obama believed or what he would do if he were elected. So indeed, we've seen his presidency kind of drifts from issue to issue, telling people in each group what they want to hear, but it rarely takes particular hard stands. And this is one of the reasons that Occupy has become so frustrating. The advantage of using an empty signifier is it brings in a lot of people. Since people only see themselves and their own beliefs about freedom or change or the nation, they tend to believe that the movement represents what they believe. And better yet, it tends to make them believe that their own views are shared by a huge number of people. Solidarity had some of these great slogans. Nie ma wolności bez solidarności, which is, there is no freedom without solidarity. What's freedom? Actually, after the revolution, that became a big issue. What constitutes freedom? Is it the freedom to speculate on an open market? Is it the freedom to publish your own words? Is it the freedom to have a living wage and health care? Nobody specified this before the revolution. Another slogan is, Nie ma chleb bez wolności. There is no bread without freedom. But again, what bread metaphorically constituted, in terms of better wages or more apartments, was up in the air, and indeed many people never got more bread, more wages, or better apartments. Solidarity also used a lot of nationalist symbolism. It really claimed to represent Poland. But the question was, whose Poland did it represent? People in different income groups have remarkably different experiences of the same nation. It's really effective. You know, Republicans tend to unify us all by waving the flag. You know, this is America, this is American. But in fact, we're not all talking about the same America. But Solidarity actually went on to really focus on narrow and specific issues. And sometimes they were like amazingly specific, like 3 years of maternity leave. Appointing managers based on their qualifications, not on their party membership. Increasing the amount of sausages available in stores. The advantage of this, surprisingly, it didn't discourage people from joining the movement, which is what many people fear. It in fact attracted them to concrete proposals. Occupy has used empty signifiers really effectively. People over profits. You know, what's not to agree with, right? The people are too big to fail. Some of us are bigger than others. The slogan, "We are the 99%," makes a point about income inequality, absolutely. But it also helps people feel that whatever it is they're discontented about, 99% of the American population feels exactly the same way. I disagree with this, and I want to suggest that we stop doing it. We're responding to vague promises with vague complaints. And this imprisons us both intellectually and morally. You know, one of the things that I think we're reacting to with these kinds of slogans is that we ourselves have been fed a steady diet of empty signifiers, not only at the grocery store, but at the ballot box. It's become really difficult to respond with substance, in detail, with concrete proposals. I think few people these days have the patience to sit through a long explanation of the Glass-Steagall Act, although many people in Occupy argue that it is the cause of the current financial crisis. Fewer people maybe come to understand the Citizens United decision, even though these two issues together are the core of corporate domination of political and economic life in this country. But I think the fact that we have been relying on the same empty signifiers that politicians and marketers use means that people who might want to join Occupy very often can't figure out what the hell the movement is about. And we see that kind of question coming up in the press a lot. Who are they? What do they want? What are they doing? Do we really want Occupy's politics to be based on the same glossy, vacuous slogans that corporations use to sell us things we don't need? The same kind of politics that high-dollar political campaigns use to sway poor people to vote for politicians who will raise their taxes and cut the social programs that sustain them. Is that the kind of politics we want to build? I saw an article a couple days ago in the Huffington Post called Marketing Occupy, and I thought I was in a hurl. You know, a big part of the Occupy movement is resisting the relentless commodification of everything, resisting turning everything, including politics. Yeah. You know, I think we should be against turning politics and people's work into something bought and sold. So why should we adopt the techniques of advertising to get people to buy Occupy? It's not a product. So I would like to argue that one of the jobs Occupy has now is to develop a new language, one that goes beyond muzzy, hazy slogans and starts to talk about issues in detail. So my new bumper sticker is down with bumper stickers. One of the reasons I'm really glad that we're all here today. You know, I was really skeptical when Barry came up to talk about economics. I thought, oh my God, he's going to slay the whole room. And the fact that people came closer, that more and more people came in, that people were asking detailed questions was for me an amazing moment of hope. We were talking about real stuff. Okay, my next point is that we should make demands. You know, Occupy Wall Street has been deeply divided about articulating concrete demands. In concert with its status as a leaderless movement, OWS does not actually have an official set of demands. You know, there's kind of a general agreement that we should do something about the influence of corporate dollars on politics. There's general agreement that we should create more jobs and we should regulate the banks better. But there's really not much in the way of an official position about what exactly should be done. There is the 99% Declaration, which was created by an offshoot of Occupy Wall Street. These subgroups inside OWS have argued that demands are essential to the movement, and they have created these online documents to articulate them. So the 99% Declaration, which you can Google, it pops right up, articulates a set of 22 grievances, and offers some pretty vague suggestions for remedying them. So it says, you know, abrogate Citizens United. Then it says bar perks for public servants. Well, how do you do that? What constitutes a perk? They say provide health care for all, but offer no proposal for doing so. And then they say protect the planet. These are pretty vague, big goals. Another group has put out a document called the Liberty Square Declaration, and this is a wiki that's continually being edited right now. But, you know, there is no official or very concrete set of demands, and of the demands that are circulating, few of them are particularly specific. Some people have argued that Occupy should not have demands. George Lakoff, the sociologist, writes, he says, I think it's a good thing the movement isn't making demands. If it did, the movement would be about those demands. If those demands weren't met, the movement will have been seen as having failed. Other people in Occupy argue that making demands is simply arguing or negotiating with the money interests that we don't actually want to have anything to do with. So why make demands? We're not interested in a conversation with them. And they argue that the goal is simply to move political discourse leftward, not to achieve any specific policy changes. It's true, maybe, that having a movement without specific demands helps bring in new supporters who might otherwise stay home because they disagree with the specifics. But I want to argue for a minute that not making demands means we also have no victories. Lech Wałęsa, who was the leader of Solidarity, a guy with an 8th grade education, by the way, he was an electrician when this all started. He said, it's hard to build anything if frustration, bitterness, and a feeling of hopelessness prevail. And so I argue that to have a victory, we need to get past articulating our discontent. Because if people articulate their discontent, and they make a lot of moral claims about the rightness of change, what happens when, in fact, there's no change? I think people